Hello out there in YouTube land. This is Morris Man. As always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. And I appreciate the ongoing support and subscriptions. Really appreciate it. Today I'm going to do another short video per request from one of my subscribers. He's a 16-year-old guitar player. So he's been playing for 3 years. And his question is, since he can't find musicians in his immediate area, neighborhood, what are some suggestions that you recommend to try to find other musicians and form a band or join one? And I guess this is an easy question to answer because some things kind of don't change. Because when I was growing up, I had two sets of friends. I had my regular childhood playground friends, and I had my musician friends. And how I found my musicians friends, pretty simple. Hang out where musicians hang out. And a really good suggestion and a place to explore is your local music store. I met a lot of guys that I formed bands with or joined bands with hanging around Guitar Center, Sam Ash, just to name a few instrument outlet companies. So that's a really good source because most of them have like a little message board somewhere in the facility, and you can post or tag up your little flyer saying that I'm a guitar player looking to join a heavy metal band, or I'm looking to form a band. And you leave your number or whatever, and people see it and they call you. Another way is to place a classified ad, and I think that's usually the most useful way to find a group or join a group, because it's kind of interesting. I seen an interview with Paul Stanley of Kiss and Gene Simmons, and they had been friends for a long time, and they were looking to form a band, as we know now as Kiss. And they said that they had auditioned a bunch of guys. They just couldn't get that feel. And they was about to give up, and then this guy walked in who looked like a bum, and they were about to toss him out of there because they thought he was a homeless guy. Turned out to be Ace Frehley. And Ace Frehley plugged in, they got together, and the rest is history. So if you're looking to join or form a band, those are two good resources. Hang out at your local music store or place an ad in the paper. Because another thing is, the good thing about placing an ad in the paper is you kind of letting people know what type of style of music that you're playing or want to become a part of. So that's important too, because you don't want really a heavy metal guy in a soul band or vice versa. You got some people that are kind of versatile, because I try to play everything. I don't limit myself to just R&B, because the more you play at different styles, the better you become as a player and the more valuable you become out there. Because I got people that call me for rock gigs because I can do a little rock. I got guys call me for country and western gigs because I can do a little country and western. Because I mainly play in two different bands at this point. One of them is a traditional R&B band. We're all black. Then I play in a rock band. I'm the only black guy. So, it's good to be versatile. So that's my recommendation for you, the subscriber that asked me that question. And here is something else as far as kind of in that same vein as far as music, and it kind of ties in. I had another question. I'm trying to answer all these questions in one video. Someone asked me about, what do you think of alternate tuning? Because a lot of rock guys tune their guitars down, and to get, somebody once told me to get a certain deep tone or whatever, which makes sense. And someone asked me, what is your take on that? Or what do you feel to think? And, to each his own, but I look at it this way. I try to be clever. Whenever I've written songs with other people that got charted on the charts, we want people to play our stuff. We want them to be in the garage playing our stuff in lounges, because somebody once told me, and it sounds far-fetched, but it kind of makes some sense. They told me that some people do this deliberately because they didn't want you to play their music. And I'm like, you're kind of hanging yourself, because, again, if you got a song on the charts, you want everybody in the country trying to play your songs. And you're not going to make it difficult for them to do it. And I like I said, someone once told me that that's why sometimes people do alternate tuning, because in R&B, that's rare. We don't tune our guitars down. We just write songs that are within this tuning. And you can write millions of songs within that standard tuning. You don't have to start taking the E string off your guitar or lowering the heavy string, because the rock band that I play in, we do a lot of Stone stuff. The other guitar player, he's a Rolling Stones lover. So he brings 3 guitars to our gigs, And one of them, he takes the light E string off, and then he takes the heavy E string and tunes it down. Then the A string, he tunes it up. It's like a mess. And it's like, if I got to go through all this to play your songs, I just don't play your songs. Because simplicity is the key. You don't want to make it difficult for nobody to play your stuff, because that's free advertisement for you. So I really personally don't understand that. I got to tune my guitars down, and when people listen to it, they don't know what key you playing in, and they trying to figure it out, and they can't because they don't know what key or how you tuned it. So I really don't think that that's a good idea, but that's just Morris Man's opinion. But I can only recall one song, R&B song, that did some tuning down, and it was just, I think, the bass guitar. Luther Vandross, If This World Was Mine, and Cheryl Lynn, they did a duet together. When I first heard that bass line and that note, I knew that the bass player had tuned his bass guitar down. But I was believing that that's because he was wanting a heavier bass tone, and that's why they did it. But when I first heard it, I knew that it had been tuned down because it sounded really, really heavy. So that's my take on alternate tuning. I'm too lazy to do all this. I barely want to keep my guitar in standard tuning. So why do I want to tune it down a half pitch, a semitone, and to throw people off? And I'm just going to mention this in regard to that. There's only one song that I can think of off the top of my head, that Honey Love by R. Kelly. I love it. It's one of my favorite ballads. I don't believe that he tuned the keyboard down, because we've been trying to play that song forever in different bands, and I've yet to find a keyboard player that can find that key and match those voices. And even with the synth bass line on that song, I first tried to play it on bass guitar. I couldn't find the notes. It's like it's in between notes. Then I tried to play it on synthesizer, same thing. And what I think might have happened in that case, because again, R&B guys don't tune their stuff down and try to make it difficult for you to play. I think somewhere along in the recording process, when it came down to being laid on wax and CDs, the machine that laid the master, or from the master, it was slightly off. Therefore, it's like in between a note and not on point with the notes. I think that's what happened in that song. I don't think it was the thing of, let's do something weird so nobody can play our stuff. So that's it in a nutshell. Okay, next what I'm going to touch on is, what I want to touch on quickly again is the tabbing. I mentioned this before. When you go online, and I think it's like Ogla and Ultimate Tabs, and you find these tabs that are out of key, they're not in the same key of the song, and then a lot of chords in that particular tab is wrong. And I'm like, why are so many people posting stuff that's wrong? Because there are some very competent players out there that got good ears and can tabulate. And what I noticed also is just about, if you say, for instance, you pull up a Guns N' Roses tab and it's wrong in a different key, and then it has the guy's name down there who tabbed it. Then you go to another site, you find that exact tab somewhere else and find it again somewhere else. And it's like, why are these specific ones circulating all over the place? Because years ago, I tried to find out, well, how do I post a tab? Because I'm pretty decent with tabulation, and I write it tab it in the key of the song. I couldn't find it. I think I tried it once, and it didn't go through or something. But I think, again, there are a lot of mean-spirited people, and there's some people that just want to mess things up for you. They do it deliberately. And here is something interesting. It's like when you don't kind of pay attention to certain things, things happen around you that you have no idea that's happening because you're not tuned into those things. I'll give you a quick example. When you buy your car, and you decide to buy a different, because I'm a Chevy man, I'm going to buy a Hyundai, just for example. And once you buy your car, you notice these other cars, just like your car, on the road. So look at all these different same cars that I'm driving. Those cars have always been there. You just never focused on it because you had no reason. And the reason why I gave that example is years ago I had bought a truck. And a week into buying the truck, I would park it on this regular street, and then I would go to work, catch the train, go to work. And all of a sudden, I come home, I come back to my car, my passenger window's busted out. And nobody broke in and tried to steal the radio, they just burst out my window. So I go to the automotive junkyard that next day, because it was Friday when it happened. I went early Saturday morning. And when I went there, 8 of the 10 guys that were sitting there waiting to be served had the same issue. Somebody burst out their window. So I came to the conclusion that, and this is just in the conclusion, that sometimes people pay people to do certain things because I honestly believe that the junkyard paid some guys to go out there and burst some windows to generate revenue, because it made no sense for them just to randomly burst my window and don't go into my glove box or take nothing. So there are things that happen around us that, until we sucked into it and see it and focus, things happen, and we're not aware of it, but it's going on around us when we're not aware, because we have no reason to be aware of those things until it's brought to our attention. So one more thing, just going to show you my new guitar. It is a custom Telecaster. Actually, it's a Squier, and the guy that did the beautiful work, he changed out the Squier emblem and put Frankencaster, which is pretty cool because it's a takeoff of actually Frankenstein. He has the little stitching thing like he have over his head and this little metal piece. And what's really cool is, I may not be able to see it that good. Right here, it has skulls, and the skulls have green eyes. And then on the back, there's actually a picture of Frankenstein. And I actually only paid like $125 for this guitar. The first time it was on the auction box, it was about $150, and I had just bought another guitar, and I was like, well, I don't need to buy another one the week after I bought this other one. So I passed on it, and nobody, bidded on it. Then he reposted it or re-auctioned it. He dropped it down for $125, and actually I would have been willing to pay $150, but like I said, I had just bought another guitar. So I got this for $125. I think it was $17 of shipping. It's beautiful. I love the different pick guard. It's a very unique color because, lately I've been just trying to find things that are kind of unique. And what's interesting is no two guitars are the same. This is a Squier Telecaster, just like the white one that I play. But I noticed that the neck on this one is slightly thicker. It's interesting that, if you kind of pay close attention to detail, that you notice these differences because they can't exactly 100% duplicate, something else. Unless, well, they can, but they're not really trying to be 100% accurate, like all of them will be exactly the same. But the neck on this one is slightly thicker, and with my other Telly, the neck is thinner, and it has like this. When you play it, you feel like an arch in the wood, which actually is good for your hand. And this one doesn't have it. I think this is kind of like the standard one because the white one that I got is something special. When I first bought that guitar brand new, and when I played it and I felt that neck, I said, man, I've never felt the Telly neck that small and have that curvature in the wood. So that guitar is probably going to be with me until I get buried. This one feels good. Doesn't feel like the white guitar, but it feels good, and you can't beat the price. If you look around, you can really get some good deals on eBay because, again, I told you, I'm not one of those guys going to spend $1,000 on a guitar. I'm sorry. I'm going to take $900 of that and put it into my child's college tuition, make it worthwhile as opposed to making guitar manufacturers richer. So that's my thought on that. But this is a beautiful guitar. I love unique guitars, and it's going to be good. I usually play like on Halloween, and this is definitely going to be the guitar that I show up at the Halloween gig. So I'm signing off now. Until next time, take care. Thanks for watching.